Hello everybody, Lindsay here again. Today I am going to show you the absolute easiest way to cut and miter the edges of EVA foam for cosplay. There are many different ways that you can do this. This is just the one that I've found to be the absolute easiest and most cost efficient. You can use just a regular X-Acto knife or a razor blade, a box cutter, anything that uses a conventional razor blade. But I personally don't like doing that because after a while my hands start to cramp up, and it's also just not very cost efficient because your blades will dull with every single cut, which means you're constantly buying more and more razor blades, and that's just a lot of money that I really don't want to spend. You can also use, they make like foam core board cutters that have like a spot, they have like a, on the jig, it's a way that you can actually angle your razor blade to where you just pull the jig and miter your piece that way. Again, that's just a separate tool that you would have to buy in order to be able to just miter your edges. Again, more money that I don't want to spend. If you can miter the edge of a piece of EVA foam with just a single box cutter, which I have seen people do, props to you, because I cannot do it. I don't know if I just don't have the strength or the finesse, but it just has never worked for me. So this is the way that I do it. It is a little bit more dangerous than just a regular box cutter, but the pain that is relieved from your hands whenever you do this, like, it's just so easy the way that this particular tool cuts through the foam. Really is just worth it in my opinion, although I have hurt myself with this before. That's why I really need to stress that if you do decide to use this, you need to be very careful. I hurt myself pretty severely, so take it from me, it was not fun. So the tool that I am talking about is the heated hobby knife, or heated hobby tool, whichever you want to call it. You can find this at Michael's in their wood burning section. It is literally like a little X-Acto knife that is plugged into the wall, and this entire apparatus heats up from here to here, so you definitely don't want to touch any part of the metal up here. You can see mine is well used and well loved. It's completely discolored, it's caked up with burnt foam, and the tip isn't even straight. I don't know if you can see it, but it actually got a little crook in it, so I could probably replace this blade if I wanted to. In the pack it actually comes with one that has like a hook on it that looks like a scythe, and it's got a straight one. I actually don't know where my replacement blades are, but they do sell individual blades that you can buy. I think altogether this was like $20, and it came with the tool and a couple of different tips. I think it's marketed to cut like plastics and stuff meant for like scrapbooking or wood burning or things like that. I don't know if they necessarily market this as a wood burning tool, but it works really wonderful. But like I said, this gets in extremely hot. I've actually just barely laid my wrist down on the shaft of this, and I burnt the piss out of my wrist, excuse my language, but I mean, I just touched it for a second and it went and burnt me really good. I had to go and put ice on it immediately. It was a big nasty scab. I think I might have a picture of it, and I do have a scar from it. And I don't know if I can show you, but I burnt, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a very light discoloration right here on my wrist. That's where I burnt myself. I just missed my tattoo, so I got really lucky there, but of all things, my cat was laying in the corner of my desk, and I went over to pet him, and when I did that I wasn't paying attention, and I laid my arm down on my hobby knife and burnt myself really bad. Anyways, then it's also, like, that is really just good for making straight cuts. It's not the best for mitering things. It's good for if you have two pieces that are glued together and you want to go in and like shave down some of the material on the inside. It works well for that. But as far as just like mitering a regular corner, it's still a little bit difficult. So the way that I found is the best to miter an edge is with just a regular pair of scissors. It is the easiest because you can just get right in there and cut it at an angle. You can cut a valley or a mountain angle, whichever way it needs to go. The only downside with this is the more you use it, your hands do get pretty fatigued using a pair of scissors. So my hands will start to cramp after a while if I'm sitting and working on this for hours at a time. But I'm okay with that because it really is just the easiest way, so I deal with it. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to do this piece here. I have my paper template that I traced out onto my foam mat, and then I cut it out and I just took a ballpoint pen and I drew all of my little fold lines on it. And in papercraft, if the line is dotted, that means that it's going to be a valley fold, which means it's not going to be like this, it's going to be like this. So that means that we have to miter it the opposite way we normally would. And then this one here is just a regular mountain fold. So I'm going to go ahead. I have a cutting mat here because even though this tool also has like a sharp razor blade edge on it to begin with, but again, the more you use it, it does start to dull. So even though it is incredibly dull right now because I've used it over and over again, you still want to have some protection down on your table because it is hot. This thing is nice and cut up and used, so make sure you've got some protection on your table. And then whenever you go to use it, make sure that you've got your cord out of the way, make sure you're aware of where the tool is because I can't stress enough how hot this fucker gets. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here and start cutting my little pieces. I just push down and then just let the heat of the tool do all the work. You shouldn't be putting too much pressure on it to try and cut through. Just let the heat cut the piece. Then I'm going to keep that where it goes, that way I don't get it confused. Then cut through here. I'm sorry if you can't see through my wrist. I don't really have a good filming setup. I'll cut through there, pull that out. And then this is our last cut. All right. Then put it back on the little stand that it comes with, that way you don't burn your table. I also have my laptop over here in the corner, and I have the model and the piece pulled up, that way I can see where everything goes so I don't get anything confused or put in the wrong spot. It definitely helps. So like I can reorient this the way that it is on my screen, that way I know exactly where all the pieces are. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can go in and we can start mitering. So this first piece up here, since that was an undotted line, that means that it's going to be a mountain fold. So the way that translates to EVA foam, since it isn't in paper, is we are going to cut with the untextured side facing out, and we're going to cut at an angle this way. So I take my scissors, I put them at an angle right on the edge, and then you just cut it right along that edge. And just as easy as that, you saw it there, it just perfectly miters that edge. And there's your little piece that you cut off. So easy. So then, you take your hot glue gun. I got this one from Walmart. This is a low temp glue gun. I prefer using these just because high temp glue guns take forever for them to cool, and you can also really hurt yourself on those. And just the speed at which the low temp glue dries is really favorable for me. And this one's also just really nice. It's really comfortable. I enjoy it. So I'm just going to take my glue gun, put a nice bead, and then just glue that right on. And even though it is a low temp glue gun, I have still definitely given myself some blisters from this because I do go kind of ham with the glue. And you don't have to worry about your seams being super even. You can also take your little heated hobby knife. If you have like some messy glue lines, you can take it and cut all of the stuff that's oozed out of it and clean it up. But after the construction phase, I actually go back and I use drywall patch and fill in all of my seams, so I'm not super worried if it's not the cleanest construction. So then this next line right here, this one's dotted, which means it's going to be a valley fold. So the way that we do that is I take, I just glued my scissors to the table. There we go. I take it, and with the textured side facing me, since the line is right here, I just do the exact same thing. Angle it, cut right along the edge, and when you flip it over, you've got a perfect valley miter. Then same exact process, take your glue, do a nice bead, and then you can glue it right on. And then I just hold it for a couple of seconds, let that cool. If this was a high temp glue gun, I'd have to sit here forever in order for this to dry and stay. Just like that. Perfect. Alright, and then this last little piece, this is where it can get kind of tricky when you get really small pieces like this. It is again a valley fold, and this is where if you've got tiny little spots, using a smaller pair of scissors. Goose, you're in my shot. And you're gonna touch that knife. Everybody say hello to Goose. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. As I was saying, you can either miter this part that's connected to the bigger piece, you can miter this little piece. Personally, I like to do the bigger piece just because it's going to have more structure, and I do want this little piece to stay its full size. So I'm going to take the piece and turn it the way I need it to be, and take my smaller scissors, and then go in same way as before. Snip, snip. And then when you flip it over, you'll notice you do have this little connection piece, so I just take it and snip it right off, just like that. Then take your glue gun. Nice bead. Don't blob it on there, do be a little bit conservative with it. And then just take it and press it on. Okay. And that's all there is to it. We've done all of our folds. We've taken the flat piece, given it some dimension. It's got a nice twist in it. This is actually going to go underneath the armpit and down the waist, so the curve of it is actually going to be along the waistline. So yeah, that's all there is to it. It's as easy as that. You just have to do that millions and millions of times with each individual piece, and then eventually you've got something that looks like something. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.